Welcome back to the course Millennials in the Millennium. Today we're talking about historic premillennialism. Now, in this view, the kingdom of God is manifest in the first coming or the first advent of Jesus Christ. However, the kingdom is not yet fully consummated. Now, at the second coming of Jesus, you have Jesus setting up the millennial reign, the 1,000 years. And this reign is a literal reign on the earth. After this reign of peace, there will be a final judgment. And then you will have the creation of the new heaven and the new earth. Basically, what you have in this view is that the destruction of evil will occur in two stages. First, with the second coming, Satan is bound, and the beast, false prophet, and all those with them are destroyed. At this time, the first resurrection occurs. And the saints will rule with Christ for 1,000 years. And after the 1,000 years, Satan is loose, and he seeks those who would rebel against Christ. However, this rebellion is quickly snuffed out by Jesus, and he finally has defeated all of his enemies, and the devil is cast into the lake of fire. Then at this time, we have the last judgment and the second resurrection. Now, the second resurrection includes those coming to life that did not participate in the first resurrection, so it would be unbelievers. But it should be noted that this would also include anyone who lived and died during the millennial reign. Remember, the millennial reign is 1,000 years. Now, included in this view, classic or historic premillennialism, is the idea that the kingdom of God advances until the end of the age or the second coming of Jesus. Now, right before the second coming of Jesus, there is a great time of rebellion and tribulation for the church. It should be noted, it is very important to understand that with historic premillennialism, it is the oldest view, but it is also adamantly post-tribulational. This means this view ascribes to the idea that believers will go through the entire tribulation before Jesus comes back. Post-trib. Now, the reason I point this out is because in dispensationalism, which is also premillennial, this is not the case. As a matter of fact, most dispensationalists believe that the rapture of the church is pre-tribulational. In other words, the church is raptured before the tribulation. Now, one of the most prominent modern proponents of historic premillennialism was George Alden Lad. Now, Lad was a professor at Fuller Theological Seminary in California. Listen to what he says about the modern pre-tribulational view. The idea of a pre-tribulation rapture was not seen in the scriptures by the early church fathers. They were futurists and premillennialists, but not pre-tribulationalists. Pre-tribulationalism was an unknown teaching until the rise of the Plymouth Brethren, among whom the doctrine originated. Now, I point this out to make a clear distinction between the ancient or historical view of premillennialism, which is the view we've been talking about, and dispensationalism, a more modern view. It is an important difference between the views, and we'll discuss more about that at a later time. Now, let's move on and think about how theology affects my daily life. Any philosophy or any theology that you study, you definitely want to ask some very specific questions. You're going to ask, is this biblical? Is this accurate? Is this truth? You're going to ask those kinds of questions, but you're not going to stop there because any belief system does affect your thinking and it does affect your life, and you have to ask those questions. How does this affect my thinking? How does this affect my daily life? How does this affect my relationships with other people? How does it affect my relationship with God? You have to ask all those questions. And if you don't ask those questions, you have to go back to the drawing board. I know with eschatology, sometimes this is a little harder applying it to our life, but I promise you, these views are affecting your life right now.